Welcome, welcome. Hi, Tony, Dan, and David.
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Halfway to the weekend.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I thought I had configured this that anybody can join at any time, but I just saw admit button, so my configuration might be a little off.
No problem.
But yeah, I'll basically share the screen to Tony to go over some HDI news and then turn it over to you for your presentation. I certainly expect that we've got a small enough group that this could be a highly interactive workshop, not just a presentation, if you like.
That's great. Absolutely. That's great.
Awesome. Okay. So I hope everybody's having a great week and ready for the holidays. They are fast approaching.
Yeah, I can't believe it already. It's super
Tony,
fast.
you're so proactive. I'm sure you got all your holiday shopping done already.
Happens faster every year.
It does seem to be moving faster every year. Fantastic. Besides Tony, were any of you at the Support World Live event we had in November?
I missed going. I meant to, and then I ended up having some meetings that I couldn't get out of.
It was just great to get together with old friends and make some new ones, and I'm glad we're able to get back to in-person events. So we're going to be announcing that in the new year.
That's awesome.
We've got about 45 seconds till kickoff. And just like the NFL, we always start on time. So I assume that, and we have more joining us. That's great.
Dan, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Tony. Thanks for having this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, Carlos and Mark. And we're just about to get started here. It's been an exciting holiday season already from a NFL and NCAA standpoint.
Yeah.
It's a crazy year, but that's why they play the game.
That's right.
But all is good. All right, we are at the 12:30 mark. So good morning to all of us on the East Coast, and good afternoon to us, any of us from further west. Welcome to our HDI Coast to Coast web conference event. My name is Jim Rive, and I am the president of the Central Florida chapter, as well as your MC for today. I'm sure that everyone will get a lot of value out of what we share with you today. I'm going to share my screen. And we'll go into presentation mode. I start off by thanking the local chapter officers who help us put on all events and handle all chapter operations. Tony, can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. So on behalf of the Central Florida, Seattle, and Los Angeles chapters, thank you so much for taking time to join us this afternoon and this morning. We'll start off with some HDI news. Then I will introduce our featured speaker, the rock star Tony North, who's going to share with us a methodology for a service desk health check. And as I mentioned a little while ago, we have a small enough group that this can be a highly interactive workshop session. We'll then open it up to Q&A, and then we'll have a wrap up. I want to go ahead and thank all our sponsors who make our events possible. Robert Half, Drive Savers, Easy Vista, Icera, Emitas, Tech Systems, Apex Systems, Mimecast, and OnTrack. I'm sure many of you are already working with them, and if not, please reach out to them. They have a strong value proposition to present. At the Support World Live event, not only were the finalists for the 2021 HDI Awards recognized, but the winners were presented with trophies. For Best Service and Support Analyst, Laura Haley of Edward Jones in the St. Louis chapter won that prestigious award. Certainly all finalists are rock stars in their own companies, and are certainly a blessing to them, and we celebrate all their accomplishments. But a special shout out to our own Central Florida's Honey Cole Wilson of Lockheed Martin. She certainly impressed all of us. For Best Service and Support Technician, Sandra Heesh of Montefiore IT, who's a member of the virtual chapter. If you haven't already participated in one of the virtual chapter web conferences, they are presented on a regular basis and can be very informative. Local Chapter Officer of the Year winner was Erica Hanna, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine of the HDI Capital Area Chapter in Washington, D.C. Upcoming events in January on Wednesday, the 19th, we have the powerful presenter, Shira Hutchinson, who is a very accomplished practitioner and consultant, and just a lot of fun, great sense of humor, and real world stories. She will be presenting Leading Through Change While Keeping Your Employees and Customers Happy, which is certainly a timely topic now, and change isn't easy for anybody. And she's got some great recommendations and approaches. Also, for next year, Support World Live will be at its normal time, May 16th. That week, pre-conference workshops the weekend before, and the conference during the week, as well as Service Management World, which will again be in Orlando the week of November 14th this year. So pre-pandemic, these were the normal annual conference times when these events would take place. Just a reminder, I mentioned that we've been collecting award nominations for 2022, and we will announce our local chapter winner at the January web conference that I mentioned previously. Also, we have two kinds of memberships at HDI. There's the free community membership, and then there's the paid membership that includes discounts and also revenue for your local chapter. So this entails HDI training, certifications, the annual conferences, and you should have a special code from your local chapter, and ideally also receive it upon your registration for your paid membership. If not, please reach out to your local chapter president, and they will provide that code, because you can't save $150 on the annual conferences, 5% on virtual and in-person training, but it's a great benefit. All right. Well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our esteemed speaker. Tony North is president of the Seattle HDI chapter and a senior advisor for the Los Angeles chapter. He's also a senior manager for IT service management of Seattle Genetics. And he started learning about technology with the US Marine Corps after he became the first PC software trainer after which he became the software trainer at Safeco Insurance Home Office. And this resulted in him working various technical roles where over 18 years, he has been involved in 125 successful implementations of service desks and HR software systems. Tony is a very special person. He also serves as the Master of Ceremonies at our local chapter office annual summit, and very knowledgeable, and greatly appreciate the privilege of having you, Tony, join us. So here is a warm welcome to Tony North.
Thank you. Nice to be here, and Jim, appreciate the opportunity to share. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides, and then if somebody, if you guys can see the slides, just let me know you can see my screen, and then we'll get started. All right, let me know if you guys can see. Oh, okay, excellent. Some thumbs up there. Well, yeah, perfect. Well, okay. Hey, I just wanted to thank Jim and his team for having us join. This is a session we've done a couple of times in 2021 and had a lot of feedback. It's just one of those areas that we don't spend enough time on. So, we're all trying to be successful in the work that we do. So excited that we're able to do it from coast to coast. I'm in Seattle and Jim's in Florida and everybody else is in between somewhere. So wonderful to get that opportunity. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move my slides here. So we will, so Tony North, if you do want to, track me down, it's tonynorth.com. Been a speaker for HDI since 1996, and now I've been doing podcasts and spent a lot of time, as Jim said, managing support and services as a director, a senior director, as a senior manager, all these different type of roles that still encompass the same thing. And that's the most important thing I want to make sure to start out with. We're all doing similar functions. One of the great reasons why I joined HDI in the very beginning, not only because I worked for BenData, and at the time BenData also owned HDI, but also because it enabled us to share information that maybe one of us is doing for the same type of function. And then sharing it enabled us to all be successful together. So this is a workshop. You'll notice I have some stoplights at the top left-hand corner, and these kind of share that I'm going to share something. I have a stoplight on right now, just saying, hey, I'm going to go over the agenda, but you'll see a yellow light, which is prepare to talk about something, and then a green light, which means everybody, it's open. And definitely feel free to share, or, if you want to use the microphone, if you want to use chat, I'll try to pay attention to the chat as best I can. Matter of fact, noting that, I'm going to open up the chat right now just to make sure I've got it on my screen. You can use the chat, you can use the microphone. Definitely, if you're comfortable enough, would love to see your face. If you want to participate or add some content or what you do. And that's why I want to share this as a workshop. Really, it's about what we all do that we're going to enable us to build a health check today. Now, my methodology is quite simple. I've done, when I worked for BenData, which is the heat product now owned by Ivanti, I started in deploying service desk applications, which we also call ITSM today. Nice to see you, Joe. And as part of that, really, it enabled me to make mistakes. So the reason we're here today is from the mistakes that Tony made, but I didn't put that on the bullet point. Anyway, based on that, I was able to obviously improve that and turn it into something very helpful to consumers. After 125, I really was able to, develop a health check. What should you pay attention to? And that's what we're going to talk about today. By the way, I did want to make sure to notate that I'm actually sharing the methodology, how I built it, but we're also using the HDI service desk health check as part of this. So you'll notice after you go through this training that and workshop that if you go to the HDI's version of the health check, which is right online, you'll actually see similarity in my approach versus what HDI uses for a health check. And I took that into consideration when I built this session for the workshop. Okay, so what's the big deal? Look, I've got you in a yellow light. We're just about ready for everybody to talk. So get your microphones ready. Here we go. But listen, the methodology, I wanted to come up with something quite simple because when you think about a health check, there's just so much that's involved, right? And so I came up with this really smart acronym focused on the structure and strategy, enabling the method and framework that helps performance. And then being attentive to the practices, processes, and procedures, the actual elements that all of our staff deliver. And then remembering the staffing needs and training, because those, listen, I've always said that if you take care of the team is going to take care of the customer, right? And so we got to remember that that's a point by itself. And then technology and systems. We can't do all of this, without being able to have technology and systems integrated into our process, into our needs, into what our customers want as well. So that's my SMART acronym. All right, everybody ready? We're going to get started on the next slide. Okay. Here we go. This is a green light. This is for everybody to join in. And what I usually like to do is ask everybody, what type of mission do you have for your company? What kind of vision do you see for your company? And I'm going to just state some of the, most common ones, like, our company has enable Seattle genetics workforce through next generation technology solutions that work anytime, anywhere, on any device. That's ours and my current company. But what do you have as a current mission and vision in your companies?
Hello, I'm David Higgins. I'm actually with a company called Orlando Health. We are patient facing. So we host 12 hospitals and growing, and over 200 physician private practices and growing. So in our company and our vision is obviously to provide premier patient care. We do that through a variety of methodologies, whether it's a clinical health record, while growing through mergers and acquisitions, and also granularly through traditional structures. So our primary mission is to provide premier patient health care and a patient health experience. And we can do that, and you create a submission under that from the IT environment that is to provide our end users the best possible experience and support structures that we can provide to allow them and enable them and empower them to provide that healthcare.
Okay, great. And I am looking down mostly so I can take notes, David, on what you said. I really appreciate that. By the way, is Orlando Health part of the Baptist system?
No, we are an independent system. We
Okay.
we're a $3 billion company in Central Florida.
Okay, great. Baptist was one of my customers there, so just one of the few areas in Florida that I spend a lot of time with. Okay, great. Anybody else? That actually is really great. Talking about when we talk about mission and the vision, talking about our actual patient healthcare and what we provide to end users is exactly what we're looking for. And I notated that so we can update that on the notes for this. Anybody else?
Hey, Mark Middleton here, Health First, work with Joe, the customer experience director. And yeah, our IT vision is, it's very similar. With a consumer first mentality, we enable wellness through technology.
Right.
So that's the simple IT vision, and providing just premier wellness and reactive and proactive, right, wellness for our customers.
Right.
At extreme, don't have the mission statement at hand for the for the company, but there's a strategy that revolves around the pillars of business, customer, costs, those traditional areas.
That's great. That's great. And I like how you notated, Mark, reactive and proactive. A lot of people don't get that as part of their, planning. And I think it's important to notate that in your maturity model, you need to be proactive, but because we're in IT, we're going to always be reactive.
Right.
So calling that out is really great, And I notated that as well. Excellent. Anybody else? All right. Well, the one thing that I do like to notate on here is you take that vision, you take that mission, and then you put in your goals as part of our plan. And you're going to see the end result of our discussion for a health check. I'll give you a sample because I'll need to put the notes together and then I'll follow up. But ultimately, being able to take the vision and the mission and then the goals, because here's the deal. You need executive buy-in and you need your team's buy-in. So the mission is going to help the team. The vision is going to set the direction for what we do and why we do. But the goals are really going to be able to set a precedence for, hey, if we want this health check, the things that need to be in here need to also align to the goals. And what are some goals that you may have? I mean, and I'm going to call out one just to give you an example. I have a cheat sheet here a little bit, but one of the goals that I think most everybody has when they're being reactive, Mark, ironically, I'm going to pick on you for that one. When you're reactive, one of the goals is first call resolution, right? Are there any other goals that you can think about that could help you?
Well, SLA.
Yep, SLA, excellent.
Time to resolve, average time resolve.
Yep.
The other ones that we focus on.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, I love it.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
have,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
this is Carlos.
Carlos, hi.
Yeah, we focus a couple of our metrics around, hold times, like the user experience, kind of like how long you're talking with an individual and how long you may be putting people on hold, things like
Right.
that. Just making sure the experience is as short as possible while resolving it, right?
Yeah, I love that. Back in the day, people put people on hold all the time. And then at the beginning, we really did start using statistics for hold time. And now that kind of went away. And now I like to see that it's coming back because, understanding what people are doing on hold. Do they want music? Do they want silence? Do they want to be on there for very long? These are the type of things that, when we talk about, being cognizant of the user experience, those are all elements of that. So this is great. This is great. And I made note of that too, Carlos. Thank you. All right. Look at, we're already past S. I like it. Okay. Now let's talk about, a methodology framework and performance, because when I started working on the health check, here's the deal. I implemented a lot of client sites, I think 26 countries and 42 states, and every business was different, right? My premier business, the Boston Red Sox, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Congressional Budget Office, the city of Hollywood, Florida. And what I come to find out is in your health check for a company, which we all have, we're at different companies, we have different missions, we provide different elements. The methodology and framework, they're always different. They're not exactly the same. So I put up a couple examples here. Obviously, the first example of the methodology framework is HDI, right? HDI has a methodology, they practice it, they provide training as practice, and they even use it to the next step of certifying that standardization. In my current role here, running ITSM, we use ITEL as our methodology. But now that's specific to being able to use process methods. What are some methods that you are using in your business today? Anybody? I know healthcare sometimes has their own method. ITEL for, okay, excellent. ITEL is definitely a key one.
Yeah, we use
Um,
ITEL also.
Okay, okay, great. And what about, does anybody use ISO? ISO? ISO, International Standard Organization. Its methodology is around delivering a step-by-step of every role that you have within your team. So the idea is, hey, if somebody's out sick, we can just open up our procedure manual and people can step through that. Okay, is ITL, is that different than ITEL or is that the same, Joe?
Oh, it's the same. I just
is.
didn't put the other I in there.
Okay, no problem. You know, there's all these acronyms, you know.
I know. Yeah.
ITEL is a great one. You know, they just
Yeah.
upgraded to, you know, version 4, and it does give you in 5 different quadrants. I actually do a session for our company on ITEL. I run an ITEL governance committee as well for my company, and ITEL gives you a great framework to work for. Specifically, Joe, you had talked about, or maybe that was Mark, you had talked about user experience, and the ITEL version 4 actually addresses that as one of its core principles. So being able to use, here's the deal when it comes to the M of methodology. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. There knowledge out there, there's information out there where you can take it and use it. Now, I'm not saying that we take ITEL and everything ITEL says is exactly what we do. We take the format of ITEL and we adapt it to our environment, but sometimes we adjust it based on the type of business needs that we have. And that's really what this is about. It's about coming up with a basic structure for help, use and not reinventing it from scratch, and enabling you to then use a proven method that can be successful. So the M really is important to understand and then to notate as part of this health check, so that way you can be assured that this process includes a formal method being used, even though we may tweak it a little bit. And that was one of the questions in our last session. You know, people said, well, do I have to use it exactly? No, I always tell people, you take the format, but you're going to adjust it for your business needs. All right. Attentive. Okay. Listen, attentive is one of those things that's important, right? We have our method, but you know the deal. We have to create procedures, right? We have to create processes. In our company, we even call it a playbook, where we, you know, define something. Now, by the way, this could also be International Standardization Organization area, ISO, where I shared, you know, they notate everything. But how do you do it in your company? Can someone share how you share practices or processes and procedures for your team?
Well, we share the documentation over SharePoint,
Okay. Excellent.
and you know, we have obviously our internal training and learning opportunities that we refresh consistently.
Okay, excellent. And refresh is really important to do. I'm glad you said that, David, because a lot of times people say, it's one and done. This section here is never, ever done. This section here specifically is something where you should consider, and I use knowledge management as our process of refresh, but you should definitely take into consideration a 6-month or even a 1 year if you know you don't have enough staff to refresh those documents. A lot of times they don't need a lot of tweaking, but adjusting them enables you to stay current. Anyone else?
Yeah, we use a knowledge base as well. So knowledge management is key on our side. But yeah, we do struggle with the retraining or the refreshing individuals. So, but yeah, definitely knowledge base and keeping it up to date is what we use mainly.
Excellent. And on that knowledge base, um, that was Carlos, right? Carlos?
Yes.
Um, do you use KCS?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's just another tool, by the way, in being attentive to practices, processes, and procedures, and you're using the knowledge base, so a knowledge management strategy, which is excellent, by the way. This coincides with, IT service management, right? Being able to have a central repository where people can go to, don't have to guess, they can, get to a place. But one thing that's helped some customers is also then using what they call the KCS knowledge-centered support. Or if you're not supporting and you're providing services, knowledge-centered service. And that actually makes it so that you have a knowledge process where you don't have to have 8 staff members to provide your knowledge management strategy. You can use subject matter experts, giving them permission to draft things, and then you can have an approval process. So a KCS knowledge-centered support strategy can definitely help your knowledge management process.
Yeah, there is some type of workflow in because we use the Atlassian product Confluence
Yep.
for this, so there is some type of structure in that manner. But yeah, it's not as detailed as we would like.
Yeah, that's great. Were you at the last Atlassian conference?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, they really do it up just like ServiceNow. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yes.
Tony, for our team, we're trying to get KCS kind of rolling for our team. We've got some folks certified on it and just trying to figure out next steps. As far as we have a lot of collateral now on Confluence. And we're trying to migrate everything to SharePoint if it's not going to go in our knowledge base. But anyway, we're just trying in the beginning, trying to figure things out and get things structured and set up. Our process, our ITSM process guides are going to probably be SharePoint. Those are SharePoint.
Right. Okay.
But just kind of like say in the beginning on a lot of that.
Yeah, that's great. On the getting it rolling, a lot of people ask, where do I start in this process? And what I tell folks is, so Mark, what I'll ask you first is, have you built the templates?
Have we built templates? We're in the process, I believe. I know that we have templates today that
Right.
we use in our on SharePoint. And we need to do a conversion, and part of our conversion will be putting things in the knowledge base with our ITSM tool.
Right.
But we're just in the planning. And as a matter of fact, we're even getting some changes to the tool made to support kind of what we want to do.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we are.
That's great. Yeah, I always tell people when they get rolling, start with templates.
Mhm.
Because no matter whether when you start and what you're doing, once you get the templates made, and in that KCS, what it teaches you is that the templates will make it easier forever to get your content migrated, moved, used, ready, drafted.
Yeah,
And
makes
then,
sense.
yeah. And then everything else you're talking about, can be applied around all of those templates, but that can kind of be a first step for you. So then, based on attentive best practices, what's the message to users that you guys have on, getting feedback? What do you do today to, ask the question, hey, is this working?
We have them because of our ticketing system. We use Sharewell.
Sharewell,
Sharewell
okay.
can actually create and has a add-in module for feedback and surveys. So we will randomize, so many calls, they will get surveys in their email that they can just click and fill out.
Perfect.
It's digital and it's convenient because we found most people will not participate in a survey unless it's really convenient for them to do so.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, survey's great. And you guys know the deal. People are like, I don't want to fill out another survey. So let me just ask you a question, David. By the way, Sharewell now part of the Ivanti group, right?
Yes, that's accurate. Yep.
Yep. So, when in Rome, back in the day, I worked for Magic Solutions after I worked for Bendata, and Magic Solutions it was the largest ITSM solution back then that was sold through the phone, which was crazy because back then you sold only face to face. And so, but then they got bought out by McAfee. And so this is just another example, Sharewell being bought out by Avanti, of consolidation in the marketplace. But when you use those surveys, how many questions do you have?
I believe we have no more than 5. I know it's been
Excellent.
tweaked sometimes. So we don't want any more than that because again, we found out they don't want to do it.
Yeah, they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
And so, and Carlos, I see Carlos is sending out, surveys too after the ticket closure. Our company sends something out on ticket closure to a end user that the ticket was closed for, and it'll be automatic. But then there's a time clock. That person will not get any other survey for another month. So that's one thing to think about. What is the frequency in which you're giving surveys? Because you don't want to burn your user base out. Everybody complains. The second thing is, you really hit the nail on the head. When we talked about this, David, on 5 questions. I think the focus on 5 questions is great, even if you get it shorter than that. Not even just the questions, but making them yes or no. Right? We do the opposite when we give a review. We want open-ended questions so people talk. But in a survey, we want to make it as easy as possible. You can do a rating of 1 to 5. You can do did we complete this service? And just something that makes it so, hey, they could just do 4 to 5 clicks and boom, it's gone. And now the survey wasn't intrusive. And I think that'll be helpful. Karen, I noticed it sounded like you do something similar to that as well.
Yeah, we do. I don't remember the exact number or the time frame, but same reason, because we don't want to burn some people out.
Right.
Want them getting 50 surveys because they submitted 50 tickets.
That's right. That's right. It's just one of those things where you need feedback. And this is the key about this slide of being attentive. You need to get feedback. We all need the feedback. But if we do it in a way where people don't give us credible information, or if we do it in a way where they just avoid it and it goes to the folder of junk, then ultimately we're not accomplishing our goals. So finding a happy medium in that situation enables you to get the feedback that you're looking for. Now let me just ask one other question on attentive. Let's take this scenario, okay? We did a survey. We got feedback. Was that feedback good or bad? Let's make the assumption that some of that feedback was bad. What do you do with feedback that is not good?
You have to create a report from it and highlight your most critical. You summarize it and you identify most critical as in your lowest feedback and the reason behind that to your best. And then you want to focus on how you can apply existing processes or identify new processes to improve that experience.
Excellent. That's excellent. And so you're also saying you have to share that, right, David? You can't just keep it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? What do you do with the feedback that may not be great? All right. Let me ask it this way. Have you ever called anyone that's provided bad feedback?
Yes, calling the customer one-on-one is creating a relationship to them that you care.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, I think if you pay attention to anything on this slide, and I see Carlos, you said the same thing. Yes, I think that's really important to remember, right? That in this situation where you're going to get feedback, one of the things that I implemented in our process is when we get bad feedback, we call, because typically feedback that's negative, they don't really give all the details. And by the way, when you call them, they love being heard. Now you can also at the same time share, hey, by the way, I'm glad you shared this. This is something we've got a plan that we're changing. Or, the alternative is, I'm glad you shared that. By the way, we're making a note to change this. Now let's take it one step forward. You change that. You actually took the feedback and turned it into something. Shouldn't you get credit for it? The answer is yes, right? You should get credit for it. So on the most urgent things, we called back the customer and said, hey, by the way, I wanted to let you know we took your feedback seriously. We implemented these steps, and we'd love to see, in your experience as you go through, share with us if this new process works. These are the things that customers know that you're taking them seriously and that their actual feedback counts for something. And that's how to be attentive to the audience, the processes, the procedures. Great one. I appreciate that. You guys, by the way, you're getting an A on this slide, okay? All right. And then we also want to talk about remembering the staff needs and training. And I put some items up here, and I have an example. In our company, we do something called when new employees are hired in our IT group. We do something called a PAL. We assign them a PAL, and then, we take them to lunch on their first lunch. We, for the next month, have a series of meetings with them. So they have somebody to turn to at all times. But in your company, what do you do? How do you make sure to remember the staff and keep them up to speed on knowledge?
Yeah, this is Carlos. Yeah, this is the part I think we struggle with it at my company a little bit. We run with, maybe it's the same with the others on the call, 24/7 desk. Folks working at all different types of hours, and even between our shifts, they all have different types of responsibilities, right? They're not all just answering a call, taking ticket notes and escalating or resolving, right? We have some duties that are outside of just the normal service desk type services. So they're checking AS for 100 backups and the like. So these types of custom trainings and ensuring the correct folks are trained up on this, especially
Right.
on low staffing.
Yeah.
But types of times, like it has been since closures and COVID and things like that, it's been really a struggle to try to keep these processes optimized, right, at the same time as ensuring everybody on that particular shift understands the new way of doing things. So this has been a constant for the past year or two struggle for us, is just trying to keep everybody up to speed.
Right.
But yeah, onboarding has been consistent for a long time, but as of recently, we haven't used that in a long time, right? It's been offboarding for the most part, right?
Right.
And trying to keep the current people handling new tasks. So so that's kind of what I wanted to present.
Yeah. And I see, Karen, I noticed you had talked about that too, to create a, first skills matrix. These are really big issues. I pulled this out specifically because, I was lucky to implement, 125, across the world, different client sites, different industries. But then after that, I spent 18 years as a director, senior director, managing a global support team. And not only, Carlos, just, from the onboarding and having that knowledge transfer down to everybody, but also dealing with time zones. I know even if it's just national, you got to deal with time zones, right? And so you're doing a around the clock support. One of the things that I recommend to people is to develop your own page, your own web page, right? So that's available for everybody. That could be a SharePoint site. This is a team site. Now, by the way, this is not where the procedures go. This is not where the knowledge go, although you can add links to these. But you should definitely have a team site in today's world, specifically for COVID, where knowledge can be available at your team's fingertips and in the time zone that they're in. So I know the number one thing in doing knowledge transfer is that we can't get everybody at the same time to be available. And because of that, we can't be assured that people are gonna, take the knowledge each week. We have to meet each week to share the things that really get going. On the slide, I put a sample of a skills matrix. And a lot of times, the first thing I do is I identify the areas that we need knowledge in. And so then we do a brown bag, once a month. And we have our team meeting once a week. And both of the content of those, we videotape the brown bag, and we notate before we get to the brown bag. We develop a knowledge article that goes inside of our knowledge base. So by the time we get to the brown bag, there's already content people can read as part of that. And then we publish all of that on our page, on our team page. And that communication page, we call it the communication page, actually, enables us to share what we talked about in the meetings, and gives people the ability to add comments to what we shared if they've got questions. And then we publish the video from the brown bag. And so that way now everybody can see it through its entirety at their own time zone. And so then we also do lunch and learns, where we invite people once a quarter to come in from a different team, because it's not just learning about the technology in our process. It's also learning about our customer and what they need, and the internal team that helps us be successful with something else. Matter of fact, one of the quarterly lunch and learns, the people came from development and helped our team that were the senior technicians learn how best to do something. You definitely want a strategy of all these as opposed to just one or the other. In today's world, more communication is going to be better than most. And I'm going to stop right there just in case if anybody has questions about what I shared on this. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. You definitely, a little more info about the article. Karen, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the knowledge-based article we're talking about.
Yes.
That goes out beforehand.
Yeah. So the knowledge article is in preparation for the brown bag. So we pick a topic. We have to pick these a month in advance. And so in the brown bag, what we do is we understand the topic 2 weeks beforehand and develop what are the main points of what we're going to talk about. Then we give it to our knowledge manager, who turns it into a knowledge article. So that way, two things happen. A, during the brown bag, the structure of the training is set up based on the knowledge article. But most importantly, the knowledge article is distributed on our communication portal. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'm going to click on the next slide to keep us going. And by the way, I'll leave my contact information should anybody have time or want to ask questions down the road. The last section that we'll talk about here, and I see we're running a little low on time, so we'll sum it up here fairly quickly, but this is the good thing about the health check. This is the last main section you want to know about, which is technology and systems. We have to integrate with technology and systems. We need to make sure those systems provide what we need. You know, if you think about just your ITSM solution alone, the platform that's used to manage incidents or requests, you know, that needs that needs to have an uptime, right? And so what is that, and how about that? And so and Karen, you bring up exactly what I wanted to share, which is being able to automate these things. And so in our company, just as an example in automation, I want to make sure to share, hey, we use something, we call it Dr. Botson. And it's really an AI tool from MoveWorks. And it connects up inside of Teams chat. What it does is people can go and just search on Dr. Botson, and it searches our ServiceNow system and all of its knowledge articles, and then produces to the end user the most current articles related to the search. And of course, using AI, the search gets better and better. Over time, we get more articles. We absolutely, in today's world, we don't want to replace help with AI. We want to enhance help with AI. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong, is looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, can we just use automation to solve this problem? We used automation to help solve problems, not be a replacement. Does anybody else use automation as part of their technology? Any chat bots?
No, but the chatbot from our organization is on the docket for phase 3. So that'll be starting in February.
Okay, great. And what are you going to use it for?
It'll be for pulling information from the ISM solution that we have. So what is the status of my ticket? What's the current, where is it in its process type deal? So just general information from the ticket itself. And then the knowledge articles, like you just mentioned, to be able to search through the knowledge base. So like a how-to. That's the intent. That's on my objectives as we stand it up starting in February, and it'll run 4 months in that project time.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Joe. And by the way, I see I missed one of the questions. Let's just plan to talk about that knowledge structure, you know, in a little bit, so we can we'll keep moving. But I definitely want to help you on that. And I think that's great. I think, you know, Karen, you did talk about here in the chat the one thing, which is, you know, when you talk about management, you know, and what management thinks they're designed for AI. So what you do is you design a clear strategy of what the bot to solve the management issue. I designed a document that identified the areas that the bot helps in, and that painted a picture for management to see, oh, I get it. So this is just a supplement to the search. This is just a help to get information quicker. And that really helped our management, you know, think about AI being in a different way, because that's the first thing management came to me and said, how many I don't know if you guys have heard this. You just give me a thumbs up if you heard this. How many agents can you replace by putting AI in place, right? And so it's our job as leaders to kind of re-educate management, right? And the way that you do that is by showing your core services, and then on the other side of the page, what areas the AI will supplementally help. And that kind of paints a picture of, okay, this is just a contribution to it. It's not the main menu item for support, replacing people. And it's a tough one. By the way, this is a tough question. If you do want to follow up with me after, I can share with you some of the documents that we put together to help paint this picture. I definitely want to say that using AI can be super helpful. It can improve your performance. It can improve the ability to communicate. It also can enable, in our tool, we're using Teams chat, things like being able to chat with people quickly, Also, a lot of our systems are using SMS to communicate. And so before you just turn that type of tool on, like ServiceNow provides SMS communication, you need to have a strategy around who's going to get the chat, what are we going to share, and things of that. And then the last thing on technology and systems is monitoring tools. Listen, there's more monitoring tools today than you would not believe, but they will all help you pull in the information that, listen, how many times have you gone to the, you can give me a thumbs up on this too. How many times have you gone to the event log in a server or a workstation to see what's happening with something? Well, we need to get away from that and have the information come to us. And so one of the things that, I share, we'll skip it today. I've got a video on Nagos. We use that for having logs come to us and then doing something totally crazy, searching on all the logs at the same time. That's when support gets better. That's when you're taking advantage of your technology and systems. In our company, we also use LeanIX to help point out where things are in the system so we can better improve what we call configuration management, right? Are things linked the right way? Any questions on this technology and systems? All right, we're doing pretty good. We're running out of time here, but that's actually a good sign. The one thing I will tell you, and I'm going to back up one slide, this is it right here. You spend your time here. Then you spend your time in the other areas. All right. So Dr. Botson, some SLAs, performance reports. We definitely want to take advantage of those. Nagos, which I'm going to skip the slide just because we're running a little bit out of time. I definitely want to make sure to share some other considerations that may come from different businesses that may be on your health check. For instance, some people like to put business results, profits, margins, sales, shareholder value, cash flow, these things that may relate to the business that actually is important for whatever service desk that you're providing, or operational results. What's the bottom line? And then lastly, I love to map, I do this today. I love to map critical service desk processes to business processes, because then not only does it help me, but it helps, what we all have to do. We all have to manage up. So we can't just manage down with our teams. We got to manage up. And so mapping critical service desk processes to business processes helps us manage up and shares that we are aligned with the business. Lastly, relationships. Areas or vendors or internal suppliers that provide you tools that are needed to be successful. We may include that in our health check too. That won't be in our example today, but definitely something that you want to make sure to know about if that is important to your service desk management. Here's some other scorecards. I'm just going to give you a couple examples, and we'll share these slides out once we're done, but a couple other different type of scorecards. Look at this one, talking about some of the things we talked about, like first contact, customer satisfaction, technician utilization. Why is that important? Burnout, right? We got a burnout issue. So we definitely want to, if it's needed for this scorecard, for medical care, talk about burnout. Here's a simple one that comes from the hub. Being able to calculate the ticket volume, customer satisfaction, and give yourself just a one score measure based on these areas: first call resolution rate, wait time. Hey, we talked about that today, and agent performance. This one is focused on projects. This company is specific to projects, and it gives them a health rating and related to the budget, because these are different projects that cost money. And so just a different type of scorecard. Now, what this means is you could have a scorecard for your health check, but you could also have a scorecard if you're running projects. And that enables you to see how successful you're going to be. Most importantly, capture things that you are not paying attention to. So here is how we develop what we talked about today. We notate each column, and again, you're going to get a copy of this. We notate item, we notate the type, which is my SMART methodology here. We talk about the mission and vision and the goals, and then we put the measurement on the right-hand side. Quarterly review goal, a percent complete. First call resolution goal, 65% complete, which is actually, a lot of people laugh. We all say 80%, but the reality is if you drill in on first call resolution, it's usually around 65 to 70%. And so you also can choose whether you want it met or whether you want it as a response. So there's a lot of different tools that you can use. And in your mission, if it's about response, then it'll be response. In your mission, if it's going to be about resolution, it's going to be resolution met. So again, being able to identify that. And your methods, right? And I identified down below here the focus of the value. Start where you are. Being able to have a method that helps you jumpstart where you need to go. And then having a quarterly review of those, identifying the framework. Is it working? Or do we need to look for a different framework? Or maybe, which is what I recommend, maybe we need to just adjust ITEL a little bit for our business needs. And then C, for practice, process, procedure. You know, what are the procedures? We contact within 18 minutes. We follow up within 48 hours. And on the right-hand side under measurement, what would that be? Do we determine this monthly? Is it met or not met? Staffing, this is the area. I know it's on the 4th item down here, but it's the most important item that you'll have. And then lastly, technology and systems. Oh, let me go one slide. So here it is right here. Here's an example of what it is. You'll get a copy of this. So today, you know, we met our first call resolution goal. We get a 5 because it was 78 out of 70%, right? I told you first call resolution is usually 70%. And then response, 16 minutes out of 18. That's great. Our SLA. And so you go down based on those measurements, and then you give yourself a score on the left-hand side. And as you see, we have a score at the very bottom here of 23 out of 25. We need some help in improving in our technology and systems. We didn't meet all of the service level agreements that were required. And staffing. We have the same issue, by the way, as some of the issues you guys shared. How do we provide that train the trainer format and getting every agent trained to 100%? It's always a challenge. You just got to keep rolling with it. But again, we're a 4 on that one. So those were our low points. Those are the areas we're going to work on for this year. I know there's probably a lot more that you may have as questions. I'm going to definitely share my contact information. If I can do anything or answer any questions for you, would be glad to help.
Thank you, Tony. Does anybody have any questions for Tony before we wrap up?
Excellent. Was that helpful for everybody?
Absolutely.
It was very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
joining,
you for the
Tony.
presentation,
Yep.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony, for your valuable insights and an outstanding facilitative discussion. Thank you, everyone who attended, for providing such great questions and rich feedback that all of us can learn from. I will post Tony's presentation as well as a recording of today's meeting on our www.hdicfl.com website before noon tomorrow. And here's wishing all of you a joyous and blessed holiday season. And we certainly hope to see you at the next meeting. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. We're going to play some pool.
Absolutely. Oh, you are so good.
Listen, some games I'm not, but the main thing is that it's like football. Some games you do great and some games you don't. So, but you just got to love to play. So
That's it. Love the game.
Look forward to the next time we have a chance to get together. Thanks again for an outstanding presentation and discussion.
Yeah.
We've got to have you back here again.
Thank you. I was
There's
gonna
so
ask-
many different topics that you touched on that can be an extremely valuable session for all the members.
Yeah,
So I'm totally stoked.
yeah. I think maybe this will be another one we can kick off. Maybe add a couple of things to it, but for next year as well. I was going to ask, am I okay to get, you recorded this, right? Is it okay to share that recording?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll take time, presume, to format and send it down to me. But if you have a PowerPoint or a PDF of the presentation that
Yeah.
I can post, that would be great.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So that's what I'll send you is I've got one of those right now and I'll email that to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a
Thanks
great day.
for the opportunity. Thanks for the
Oh,
opportunity.
thank you. Nice.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.